Welcome back, everybody. This is Eric and Matt, and this is Life, Liberty, and the Pursuit, your beacon of freedom and the American way of life. Tune in every Mondays for a new episode as we dive into the world of liberty and what makes our country great. Welcome back, everybody. This is Eric and Matt here with LLP, and I hope you've all had a great week. You're home for everything normal in a world of craziness, debauchery, ugliness, and downright sin.
Guns.
Welcome back. Heck yeah. LLP is back, baby, and we are rolling. Today, we are going to be discussing, all right, we were thinking about this subject. This is a really cool one for us to just dive into the weeds on. We got a whole hour to discuss this. Kind of a long form 5 guns video, if you will. However, not quite so much. But what if you could only have 5 guns? You were limited to 5. You can only have 5. What would you choose? Why? What would be the thought process for why you chose those 5? I've done some similar videos to this in the past, like maybe, in more short form, but this is really more of just a long form discussion, and like we'll really dive in the weeds about these choices. Why you would choose these 5? What would you need 5 for? I know there's probably a lot of Europeans and people around the world that might be, listening to this podcast or watching me and thinking, well, wow, why would you even need 5 to begin? Some people may think that 5 is a lot, but most Americans own a heck of a lot of guns. Okay.
Yes, that is very true. America probably has, it sounds like a scary statistic if you're European, but it's like a 7-to-1 ratio of guns to people in America. So for every one person, there's 7 guns.
Right. Something like that.
But then there's the outliers because there's people that own a lot more than others.
Right. And there's some that own none.
Exactly.
From the standpoint of this being a talking point, if you could only own 5, how would you begin to decide what that 5 would be? Well, I think the first obvious thing to think about is the purpose. A firearm, if you're only going to have a small amount of firearms, they need to be purpose-driven. So purpose is definitely something to consider. Well, what kind of purposes would we be talking about? Well, everyone's purposes are going to be a little bit different. Obviously, there might be someone that all they like to do is shoot small bore 22s, and that's all they want to do is maybe shoot air rifles. So maybe they want 5 air guns or 5 22s. But for the purposes of this podcast today and today's presentation, I'm going to really just approach this from my own personal view. You can choose to agree with me or not, all the people listening, but I'm going to really just look at this under the light of my personal needs. But I'll acknowledge that everyone's needs are going to be a little bit different in terms of what they want, and that might depend on where you live, maybe the laws in the state you live in, or maybe limitations of where you can and can't shoot, the type of things you do. Maybe you hunt, maybe you don't. Maybe you have more of a worry of being robbed or looted or, broken into, etc., so on and so forth. And we'll talk about some of those factors that would, kind of decide like what type of gun that you would want to get. And I think maybe it's just important to kind of, Matt, break it down in terms of, what the most basic intrinsic needs for a firearm would be for the widest group of people. What would apply to everyone the most? And, I have an idea, but I want to know what you think. What do you think most people, okay, your opinion, we're just floating this opinion here. What do you think most people need the most?
100%. No, there is no doubt an AR-15.
Okay.
100%. Because it's so versatile. That would be my number one choice. If you said, hey, Matt, what is the most important weapon out of your 5? An AR-15. And I say that because it's extremely versatile. You can go, if it was up to me, 10.5-inch barrel, it's long enough to get work in out to about 300, 400. I'm confident that I can hit something at 300, 400 with a 10.5-inch barrel. Capacity, round, it's easy to shoot. 5.56 /223, super easy to shoot. Like men, women, children, not a problem. Light recoil impulse. Ammo is plentiful. It's, in the U.S., so NATO based. Inexpensive. You can get a really good AR-15 for not too much money. And I understand that, not a lot of money. That term is relative to each person, but you can get a good AR-15 for not a lot of money. And that's just a fact. They're very versatile in how you can assemble them. Lots of parts available, lots of upgrades available. They're very modular. Let's say you want to change it out. You have lots of options on uppers and lowers. And if you want to reach out to a little bit longer distance, you can get a longer barrel, longer upper. If you, for some odd reason, want to go shorter, those options are available as well. But that's why I chose that as my number one, and I'm extremely comfortable shooting it. We grew up in the military. You put an AR in my hands and it's like an extension of my body. Like just the way that you move with it, you understand like the balance of it, where it needs to go when you're moving. But yeah, that would be my choice.
I think that's a fantastic choice. And I would say that, if I had to say, well, what if someone, let's dumb this down to being that, what if it could just be one gun? What would be your first choice? That would be my first choice. I would never want to be caught dead without a rifle.
That's right.
And definitely, I'd want an auto loading rifle, like an AR, something, holds a decent amount of shots, and I have quick magazine, change capacity, and good parts support and parts availability and ammo availability. All of those things are definitely achievable with AR, and that's why it is such a popular gun, because of its cost and modularity and ease of use. And it is definitely a gun that is very easy to use for a wide set of people. It may have some limitations in how it can be used in personal defense in the home. Okay, are you going to carry an AR on your hip to walk around in the grocery store? Probably not. So there are some limitations. There's no such thing as a free lunch anywhere in this equation. But I think that AR is definitely, logically must be on that list, if not the top of the list.
Yep.
Now, when I do 5 guns videos, these guns are not necessarily always in order per se, okay? In the situation of what we're discussing here, let's just say maybe they are. Let's say that the first choice is going to be our most important choice, and then we will go down the rabbit hole in least important to the least important. So we're going to go slightly off the standard protocol for a 5 guns video, and we are going to put these in order of importance. Okay, so I think that in celebration of what he mentioned, yes, I think the AR is definitely something you don't want to get caught without. And the prices on them have been very, very reasonable. Companies like Palmetto State Armory, they've done a pretty good job of making a very affordable gun. And there's a lot of good people out there, which one of our sponsors today, we'll talk about them as well. They've got some great stuff going on too. Let's go ahead and give a shout out to our first sponsor. Now, this is a sponsor of the show that we've actually done some work with on the regular YouTube channel as well, and that is my Patriot Supply. You guys might remember we did a video where we did some taste testing on all of their different entrees and things that they offer, and they've got some great freeze-dried food and things, and it's got a long shelf life. So we'll have a chat about them. So I know you guys have heard me talk about my Patriot Supply because I trust them when it comes to my family's well-being. And I just got word that they're doing something they've never done before. Right now, you can get the best-selling Mega 3-month emergency food supply for the same price as the standard kit. That's more than $360 of real beef, real chicken, plus farm fresh fruits and vegetables included at no extra charge. Even better, this kit now gives you 2,500 calories a day, more than any other emergency food supply that I've ever seen. And let's be honest, when things go sideways, you've got to need more than just survival. You're going to need strength, you need energy, you need real food. This kit will be there when you need it, and it stays fresh for up to 25 years, and it ships fast and discreetly. It's what you've been wanting for the right time. This is it. Go to preparewithllp.com and claim your mega kit while this offer lasts. That's preparewithllp.com. Fantastic. We've even got our own little website. How cool.
Oh, yeah, man.
Okay. Thanks, my Patriot. So look, MPS, they've been great. And they've done a lot to support my channel over the years, and a big thanks to them for jumping in really hard with us getting back to LLP with the podcast here.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's when we did the taste testing, they had probably some of the best tasting mashed potatoes.
Oh yeah,
I remember it. Yes, they did, because it was cooked in chicken broth. They cooked the mashed potatoes in chicken broth. And then they like dehydrated them or freeze dried them. So when you reconstitute them, it just tasted phenomenal. I was blown away, man.
Freeze dried food. Look, a little side note about freeze dried food. What's cool about freeze dried food as well is that it maintains 100% of its nutritional value. When you dehydrate food, it'll lose a little bit of its nutritional value. When you pressure can food, it'll lose a little bit of nutritional value. When you can and process food heavily, it loses some nutritional value. With freeze drying, that process, the food maintains all of its nutritional capability, which is good. You want the maximum amount of nutrition you can get out of the food, especially something with a 25-year shelf life.
That's right.
Anyway, so we're going to go on to the next gun, and I'll sort of take over on this one. So Matt, he was completely correct when he mentioned the AR-15 because, gosh, who doesn't love a good AR? And it's just crazy. Like, the AR is so useful and so universally useful that it is logically always going to be the first thing that most people mention. I would say, all right, in terms of the purpose of what you're looking to use a gun for or anything like that, I think I'm kind of torn between two. And this is going to be hard. This is a hard decision because we are going in order of importance. Okay, so you've gotten your AR. What should be the next thing that you get? I mean, I would argue probably some sort of a handgun would be in the number 2 slot. It may not necessarily be what I would want. I would prefer probably to have a shotgun in number 2. That's just me, but I'm kind of a homebody. I'm home more often. I'm kind of a hermit. I don't really leave the house that much. So it's like, yeah, I would prefer another tool to defend the home with versus, and I would find a shotgun more useful than a handgun. But if you're going out in public and you're, going about your business and you're going about your daily life and you want to carry concealed or open, I think most people choose to carry concealed, but let's just say however you're going to carry, if you're wanting to carry a gun on your person wherever you go, obviously a handgun is going to be very important for the number 2 slot.
That's right.
Now there's a lot of different choices. Of course, I've done entire 30-minute, 40-minute episodes where I talk nothing more than about like handgun selection, like what type of handgun you should choose and some of the different action types and things. So there is a myriad of different options. I mean, hundreds, if not thousands of different options for you to choose from when it comes to potential carry guns. So I'm not going to try to necessarily dial those down and give you all the specifics here in this particular podcast, but I'll tell you what my choice would be. If I could only have one handgun, it'd probably be the Glock 19X, just because, I have one right here. I can grab it. The Glock 19X, because this particular gun it's fantastic. I love this pistol, and I think that if I could only have one handgun, my vote would definitely go to the Glock 19X. And again, are there guns that I'd like to shoot more than this? There are. There definitely are. Is this my favorite gun to shoot? Like in terms of just strictly shooting pleasure, like going out and just enjoying the act of going out and shooting? No, I'd rather have a single action, 1911 or maybe a nice Smith & Wesson revolver. Like there's a lot of things I'd rather just go out and shoot for the pure pleasure of going out to shoot. Maybe even a nice rimfire pistol with a suppressor, which we'll get into that in a moment. But if I could only have one pistol, it would be this pistol. It's accurate, it's reliable, it's got a great trigger, it holds a decent amount of ammo. You can take, all of your 33 round mags. So if you have a PCC and 9mm that takes clock magazines, now you have a host gun that can take the same magazines. Of course, I've done a video called Perfect Pairs where I talk about combinations of pistol and PCC that go well together. If you haven't seen that video, you should definitely check it out. It's very informative. Okay. But that would be my vote. Sorry about that. I probably popped the mic there. But that would be my vote, would be for the Glock 19X. I think this is one of Glock's best pistols. They really have done a fantastic job with this gun. And basically, if it looks a little different than what you normally see in a Glock, it's because it's kind of the mullet gun, right? It's big in the rear and it's tiny up front. So you've got essentially a 19 slide on a 17 frame. So you get a full-size grip, full-size capacity, the grip is all the same, but just with a shorter slide. And there's something about this combination, especially that this 19X has night sights from the factory. For what this gun costs, I think it's a good value. And this is a non-cut model. They do have, I believe they're making a 19X now that has the RMR cut on it. I personally am not real big on red dots on handguns. However, it is a fantastic pistol. So the number 2 slot for me would be occupied by the Glock 19X. And that's a big vote for Glock on me. Now, I do have a Sig M17. It's actually right here. Right here. I do have an M17. This one's in my battle belt, so it might actually be hot. Yeah, it is. Okay. And look, I like the M17. This is a fantastic gun. This one has the Wilson combat grip module.
That's a good looking gun right there.
It's a fantastic pistol. And look, this is the one that's on my battle belt. So I have my 17 M17 Sig on my battle belt. I could just as easily have my 19X on the battle belt. I love both these pistols. So I'd be happy with either one, but I would say if I could only choose one, I would probably still prefer the 19X. I shoot this gun better than the Glock, but anyway.
I mean, it stands for something for reliability. And I'm not saying Sig is a non-reliable gun, but Glock does have a reputation for just eating everything. Like it'll eat, it'll go. You don't have anything to worry about there. I think that's a very wise choice. I think it's a great choice and makes a lot of sense if you're just looking at it from a common sense standpoint. I would agree with you.
Yeah, let's do some show and tell.
And I have to, mine's hot, so. All right. Glock based. So it's a Zev OZ9C compact. Unlike Eric, I am a huge fan of red dots on firearms. I love it. This particular gun, again, Glock based, it's just modified. Comes with the fiber optic sights. It was cut from the factory, so we just dropped the Holosun on there. Flared magwell. So when you start getting into these types of guns, like it just makes it more comfortable. You get a much better grip on the firearm. That flared magwell is twofold. One, it makes it easier to put the mag in, but two, it gives you a much better grip on that handle when you get a good purchase on it. Boom. Slide cut serrations, lightning cuts. We're going to use that term, in quotes. I don't know how much lighter it actually makes it, but that's what they're referred to. But most importantly is it takes Glock mags. So they're interchangeable, but also it's Glock based. So the grip is going to be very similar. Now, the main difference is what I like about this as my second choice along with you is the chassis system, very similar to Sig. You can go up and down in sizes. They have different sizes of the frame. The firearm is actually inside. You take it out, drop it in. You can get different sized frames if you want a longer frame, if you want a larger frame, a larger handle, you can do all that good stuff. So it's very versatile. It is the AR of handguns.
You know what's really interesting about that pistol? In my opinion, one of the coolest features about that pistol that's kind of unique.
Yep.
Is that the barrel has a left-hand twist. The bullets rotate in the opposite direction of what they normally would. So it has a left-hand twist.
It is interesting.
It's a left-hand twist.
It is interesting.
The rifling moves to the left, not the right.
Yep.
The weirdest thing. But it shoots great. I love that gun.
I love it. It shoots very well. Never had any issues out of it. Never had any stoppages. It's It's great. It's a great gun.
Since we're doing show and tell, all right, I've got another piece to show off. All right, now this is one I set aside just for the purposes of having a show and tell moment. This is a Smith & Wesson Model 29DX. I did some horse trading with Chad, and I wound up.
That's a beautiful gun, man.
But this is a 44 Magnum with an 8-inch barrel. Okay, so everything on this is good to go. We got a nice blued finish, and this is pre-Performance Center Smith & Wesson. So this is before Smith & Wesson had a Performance Center. This is when they would take a 29 off the line and go, wow, this one shot really good. Like this one grouped way better than a standard model. And they started to kind of put two and two together. Like, wait a minute, some of these guns are coming together really fantastic. So they would mark them DX, Deluxe, whatever you want to call it. But the 29DX is really cool. That's a nice 44 Magnum with a full underlug. This one has a Leupold VX2 on here. This one is a 4-28, extended eye relief pistol scope. And boy, this one pits the ace. It is a fantastic pistol.
You know what I appreciate about that is the full underlug. It really, and I understand that there's some vanity in this, but it really makes the gun look good, man. Like, I know that the Performance Center 44 mag that we use, the Hunter, it's a great gun, shoots the daylights out of it, but it doesn't have a full length underlug. So it just doesn't quite do it. I was like, God, I want it to look good, but that gun.
I think that full underlug is cool too, because it also kind of offsets some of the recoil.
Yep.
The gun is a little heavier, but with that underlug, I think it has an effect on the harmonics of the barrel. You know, so I think the barrel vibrates less. So for one, it helps with barrel harmonics, but two, adds a little weight up front, which kind of keeps the gun from kicking so hard.
And I understand why they did it on that 44 mag Hunter, because they're assuming that you're trying to reduce weight. I mean, I understand their purpose of that was like, if you're hiking through the back country, you usually have a chest holster, which I do, but you're trying to be as light as possible. So they put a really great brake on the front of it. You got lots of extra stuff to reduce that recoil and muzzle flip. So they just reduce the underlug, but at the same time, it's just lipstick on a pig, man.
Yeah, it can be. It can be. So first, we had our AR as a really good first logical choice. Second, we had a pistol, which of course we went off the rails and talked about 4 different handguns, but I narrowed mine down to the Glock, and of course he has the Zev, which is a fantastic Glock-ish type of gun, which is basically the same thing, just fancier, kind of a bougie, Gucci Glock. Nothing wrong with a Gucci Glock, okay? So number 3, I'll turn it back over to you. So what do you think number 3 should be?
We know what number 3 is.
Do we?
Almighty shotgun. Gotta have it. I am a huge fan. I am with you. I would have probably put a shotgun at number 2, but I understand the importance of the handgun at number 2, because you're absolutely right. If I'm out walking around town, I want a handgun. Like, I'm going it. I have it on me. It's with me 24/7. I need it. So it's almost not out of importance, out of necessity, right? Number 3, necessity. I have to have a shotgun in the house.
Yeah.
Like, absolutely. You know, you don't have to be a surgeon to use it. Like, you just point, blast, dunzo. All right. Whatever is left, but there ain't going to be much. So, I would, and where I'm going with this. My personal favorite, Benelli M4. I own it. I like the field stock. If you guys aren't familiar with the differences, you have the pistol grip variation and you have the field stock variation. In the military, everybody used pistol grips. The downside to the pistol grip is that you can't, in the event that you have to reload in an expedited manner, it is a little bit more difficult to load quick. You can't double load. You can't quad load with the pistol grip. So that's why I like the field stock. It really opens up that workspace so you can slide your rounds in, get back to work. And the Benelli M4, the gas system in it, it's great. I forgot what they called it.
I think it's the Argo.
The Argo gas system. It's a super smooth. You can't get the capacity that you want with a 3-inch shell. So you're kind of, if you really want that full capacity, you have to use the 2 3/4. But other than that, it's absolutely devastating. Absolutely devastating.
So Matt was talking about pistol grips. This is an M3. Okay, this is a Benelli M3. I, too, am a big fan of Benelli shotguns. Now, we're going to talk about that in a little bit of detail here in a moment about different shotguns. So don't think that, this is just the first choice because it's the best. Well, it is the best. I love Benellis. I'm being vain here, but this is an M3, which means it's a convertible. It can go from semi-automatic, okay, to pump.
I love it.
So this will allow you to run a wide variety of different shells. You can run beanbag rounds, less than lethal, low-powered birdshot, and just run it as a pump, or you can put it in semi-mode and run whatever you want to run, slugs, buckshot, high-power bird. This one will take 3-inch shells. This is a law enforcement model with the full-size tube and the collapsible stock. And the reason that stock gets so short, a lot of people ask, that's because if you're wearing body armor. Okay, so for the body armor thickness, it accounts for that, and that allows you to still have a sight picture wearing body armor. So that's why the Benellis get so short like that, is to account for the body armor. But of course, if you're not wearing body armor, just bring the stock out, and now you've got a nice short configuration. You can still just shoulder on your normal shoulder. And of course, it does have multiple positions, so you can bring it out even further. Well, bring it out all the way if you want, and then have the length of a normal field stock. I mainly prefer the collapsible stock on the Benelli primarily because it allows me to stow the gun and transport it a lot easier, having a shorter configuration to travel around with. But when I deploy it, I'm going to pull the stock out. The nice thing about a field stock is you don't have to worry about that. The gun's always ready, it's there, and it's really not that much longer than a collapsible stock. The pistol grip does have some tactical advantage, but will I say that it has so much tactical advantage that you would need it over a standard field stock? I would say no. I think, even anyone with a reasonable amount of upper body strength and skill with a shotgun can run any shotgun just fine. One would argue that the pistol grip allows you to push the gun forward better. So maybe if you're shooting a lock off a door, shooting off door hinges with breaching rounds and things like that, if the gun's going to buck back and kick a little bit, it does allow you to push a little harder if you need to. Also does allow you to have a little bit better, maintain better control over the shotgun. Like if someone's trying to take it from you or pull it away from you, having the pistol grip does give you something extra to kind of hold on to keep someone from snatching the gun out of your hand. Those are all minor points, but points that are worth talking about. Shotguns are useful because they deliver a good, honest payload. When it comes to stopping things in their tracks, payload is king. Okay, a big giant slug like a 1 3/8 ounce Bernicki Black Magic, which is my go-to slug. I like it because it's big and heavy and fast. It's got all of the things in the equation that equal a deadly slug. It's got heavy weight, high speed, and a hard construction. That slug is made out of a high antimony treated tin. So what they do is they take lead, antimony, tin, and they add some tin, and they also add linotype. And what happens is the slug, because of the combination of this alloy that they use, it makes the Bresnell hardness of the slug considerably hard. So it's definitely not jacketed in terms of the hardness, but you're talking a slug that can obliterate car doors. It can shoot through automotive glass like it's not there. It can shoot through multiple layers of drywall. It can knock out weak walls and cinder blocks. It's a very powerful slug. It's made for bears, defending yourself against bears, which, of course, I can't imagine something scarier to have to deal with. So I do like that slug. Now, in terms of buckshot loads, I do like the Federal Flight Control load. I think it's LE-132 is the part number on that round. I think it's a 9-pellet buckshot that's buffered. It's lower recoil, and it has the flight control wad.
It does. That's what we were shooting last time, and it was
very good buckshot load.
Really, really, and it grouped so tight, man.
It does.
Even at like 25 yards, it was like, golly.
Shotguns are versatile. And I think that that's what, people need to keep in the back of their minds. With a shotgun, you can run everything from a beanbag round to less than lethal to breaching rounds and powdered slugs that use powdered metal, compressed powdered metal. The way that a breaching slug works is it has compressed powdered metal. When it comes out, it hits hard like a slug up close on a door lock or a hinge or something like that, or a lock. But when it actually loses its energy and disperses it against the material you're shooting, it becomes sort of a powder, and it just throws it everywhere, and it keeps anything from bouncing back and hitting you. So you can shoot a breaching slug way up close and still knock a door hinge off or a lock and it not hurt you. Whereby if you shot it with a bear slug, you might have some pieces of that freaking thing coming back at you. I mean, and not to say that, would it be moving fast enough to hurt you? Do you want to find out?
Yeah.
I don't. So the nice thing about the M3 is I could have a breacher in the chamber and then have slugs or buckshot loaded up in the tube, and I can shoot my breaching round, cock it in pump mode, put it back in semi, and now the round that's in the chamber is going to shoot semi-automatically when I squeeze the trigger. So the M3 is a very versatile gun, and you guys might remember, some of you that may be old enough to remember, the Frenchy Spas 12. The Spas 12 has been in a lot of movies, and it's a very famous shotgun. Of course, you know it if you've seen it. Like in Jurassic Park, Maldron, I think is the guy's name, the hunter, the Australian talking hunter guy that goes after the velociraptors. Everyone knows that shotgun that he grabs is a Frenchy Spas 12. And it's a convertible shotgun. It goes from pump to semi. And it was not a very successful gun. It really was prone to breakage.
I was going to say there was some reliability
issues with the Spas 12.
But it's iconic, and everybody knows that the line "clever girl." Like that. Jurassic Park is really what put that particular gun on the map,
of course,
for at least the our age viewers.
How can a Spas 12 not look cool?
Oh yeah.
So the M3 is kind of the Spas 12 that works. Now, like if you want something that has the functionality of a Spas 12 but you want a modern shotgun, then the Benelli M3. Look no further, here it is.
I think the preconceived notion that people have of a shotgun rounds having such a wide spread is really what deters people. They think that, I can't use this in the house. You're going to get like this huge, like 24-inch pattern going down a hallway. When in actuality, I think we patterned that flight control on the D28, and it was like at 25 yards, it was like 4 inches. It was a really tight pattern. And we did it specifically because every shotgun is different. Every shotgun's got a pattern differently. If you have a shotgun, go out there and see what that spread is like. And it was my personal Benelli M4. We patterned it 25 yards. You're talking 4 or 5 inch spread, super tight. And you could see the wadding hit the plate. And we're like, all right, cool, man. Now we know what we're working with. I know that I can shoot down a hallway, or I can shoot down a set of stairs, and it's going to hold a 4-inch pattern out to a 25. And once you have that confidence, you know what you can and can't do with a shotgun. Now, obviously with a slug, you don't have to worry about it. Now you just have to compensate for drop. So you're like, all right, and I'm just going to compensate. I'm going to angle up a little bit depending on how far you're shooting. And there you go. But shotguns, man, they are something else.
So we've been talking about Benelli shotguns. Okay. And look, the reality here is that with Benellis, I mean, yeah, Benellis do represent a considerable investment. They are expensive. There are a lot of shotguns out there that you can get for less money that are very capable. You don't have to have an auto-loading shotgun. You can get a pump shotgun, like a Mossberg 500 or even Maverick 88.
The 1301?
Yeah, or 1301 are great, but they're all solid units for the money and very capable units. So first we had our AR. Second, we had our pistol, good handgun. Third, we had our shotguns. What would the number 4 slot be if you could only have 5? This one's going to be difficult. Again, like I kind of keep getting the swing ones that make it a little bit more difficult to kind of figure out. It's always a hard choice, but I think it's going to depend on your individual needs. I mean, obviously your needs are going to come into play. If I had to associate an importance for myself, I would say some sort of suppressed rimfire, whether it's an integral suppressed CZ bolt action 22 or a suppressed 22 pistol. That would be useful, or even a Ruger 1022 with a suppressor. I've got a Charger over there on the wall. That is a nice, cute little package. It's got a 5-inch barrel with a suppressor. It's a carbon fiber wrap barrel, folding brace, pistol grip, red dot, 25 round mags of 22, semi-automatic, fast you can pull the trigger, suppressed, really quiet. Use some 45 grain solids. You're off to the races. I think a gun like that is very useful because 22 is cheaper to train with. It's cheaper to shoot. It's a much better option for just overall plinking and things like that, plinking applications. It can be used to take small game. It can be used to take larger game if you're really a good shot and you're close enough. Okay, so 22s have a lot of tactical applications as well as practical applications, and whereby I've considered making my number 4 slot like a hunting rifle, or maybe a 308 autoloader or something, or 6.5 Creedmoor autoloader, something like that. I feel like if I needed to shoot a deer or a hog or some type of game to survive, I could do that with my AR. I've already got the AR, so that can double as a hunting rifle for me. Now, would 5.56 be my first choice for going hunting for the most ethical kill that I could get? Probably not, especially on deer and hog. But the thing is, if you're talking survival, you don't have to have a specialized hunting rifle. You can just use your AR. I mean, an AR is going to kill a hog. It's going to kill a deer. It's going to kill, a wide variety of different game if that's something you need to do. And if you use the right bullet, you might even be able to get away with some small game. But again, if it's small game you need, that's what you have the 22 for. So I think that the 22 is probably a more important stopgap for the would-be prepper, survivalist, someone who has that kind of mindset. That might be a more useful tool than even a hunting rifle, especially a loud hunting rifle that, doesn't have a suppressor. Sure, you could have an unsuppressed 308, which I'm about to show you a nice one in a minute. But the point is, I feel like really a suppressed 22 is probably a more useful tool than a full-size battle rifle, I would say.
I would agree. A 22 rimfire wouldn't be my 4th choice, but I can see why it would be somebody's 4th choice. They're very versatile, especially if they're suppressed. You can take some medium-sized game with a 22 with proper shot placement. Ammo is plentiful. Most importantly, you can stockpile and carry a lot of 22 ammo. It doesn't can you imagine trying to cart 5.56 or 308 ammo around? It's extremely heavy. As two guys that carried multiple cases of 5.56 around a foreign country, it's definitely hard if you don't have motorized vehicles to do it for you. Great. 22 is a great option. It's fun to shoot if you just want to go out and plink, of course. But again, not my 4th choice.
What's your 4th choice?
My 4th choice, is unconventional as it may be, would probably be like a Henry lever action in 9mm, just because it kind of works with that perfect pair option. I can extend the range of my same ammo. I can say, hey, I have a handgun that shoots 9mm. I can use a Henry if I need to go and shoot some small, medium-sized game. I know with confidence that with that 16-inch barrel with 9mm, I can put something out at a farther distance.
You mean the Homesteader, the semi-auto?
Correct.
Yeah, they make a gun called the Homesteader.
Yes, with the magazine. It is magazine fed. Correct.
I was trying to think. I don't know if they make a 9mm lever action. That might be something they need to do, though.
I know they make a 44 and a 357 as well.
Yeah. POF makes a 9mm.
Yes.
Lever action.
Yes, they do.
Yeah, and that might be the one we were thinking of, because I think, what is it called? The Patriot?
Well, there's also like a Bighorn. A Bighorn that does 9mm as well.
Bighorn makes a 500 Smith & Wesson lever action.
It's a beast, man. Yes. And it looks really good too.
Mm-hmm.
But in general, maybe it wasn't a Henry. Maybe it was a lever action 9mm. But I like the lever actions just because the simplicity, they work. The action itself is actually kind of complicated if you have to take it apart, but they don't really fail that often. And I like the fact that I can share ammo.
Okay. Yeah, so, I had not even really even considered a PCC, which honestly, I think if I'm running an AR with a 10.5-inch barrel, I'm not sure I have a lot of use for a 9mm PCC at that point, because unless I were just to replace the handgun altogether with a PCC, which might also be a more attractive option. We are going to go into our next sponsor before we move on. Okay, we are going to get into number 5 here in a moment. We're going to talk about modernwarriors.com. When it comes to protecting yourself and your family, having the right gear matters. That's why I trust Modern Warriors, your go-to source for all things tactical. They got a massive selection of firearms, suppressors, and accessories. Everything from high-end builds to everyday carry essentials. Whether you're a collector, competitor, or just looking for reliable self-defense options, they've got you covered. With over 800 5-star Google reviews, their customer service speaks for itself. Right now, you can save 10% on your first order when you use the promo code LIBERTY at checkout. Visit modernwarriors.com today, browse their selection, and see why they're not just another gun shop. They're your tactical specialists. Remember to use the code LIBERTY at checkout. That's modernwarriors.com. Code LIBERTY for 10% off. And a big thanks to you guys for supporting us with bringing LLP back, y'all. Okay, so if you need anything like what we're talking about, they've got you covered. All right, so number 5 slot, that's your turn. What would be the last one?
So I know that you mentioned that you wouldn't take a hunting rifle, but I would. I want something with some stopping power. And when I say stopping power, I mean some major stopping power. So I would probably go with a M77 Mark II just because I'm familiar with it. Great hunting rifle. 30-06. I've taken many a deer with that.
Yeah, you have.
Yeah, man. It was absolutely ridiculous. But I like the fact that, it's larger caliber, 30-06. You can find ammo. Ammo is plentiful. It puts deer down. It'll put anything down in North America. I'll tell you that right now. Extremely accurate for what it is. Understanding it's not a freaking 6 ARC or a 6.5 Creedmoor. It's not designed for that. But for the distances that you're shooting and the game that you're shooting it at, man, it gets the job done. It's light. Like you don't have to worry about this. And I know everybody likes like these wood stocks. They look amazing, but this is a synthetic boat tail. It probably weighs like 3 pounds, man. Super light. But like you said, Eric, there's no free lunch in physics. With that lightness does come the drawback of it has a pretty hefty recoil impulse. So if you're not holding on to it, it's going to get you. But overall, that's what I would want. I want something that, can take any size game that I want up to and including 2-legged game. You're good.
Oh yeah. That's a great gun. I love the M77 Mark II, and I'm always going to have my name in the hat for an M77 Mark II all weather. That's my favorite Ruger rifle. I had a large collection of them. I did part with some of them.
One of them was to me.
Yeah, I did part with some of them. I only have one left. The one that I have now is a 9.3 by 62. See it right there? The blued finish is right there beside you. You can grab it if you want. It's right there. It's a 9.3 by 62. So that's one that I decided to keep. So Matt has the one in 30-06, and I kept the one in 9.3 by 62. All right. So so this one has a blued finish on it and everything. So, and that's fine. It's not a stainless model, but it's great. I love that gun. And it's got a ridiculous amount of power.
Oh yeah. It's extremely, extremely light.
Yeah. Here in my hands, I have a Remington Mohawk Model 600. This is actually the gun that came before the Remington 700. So this one, if you look at it, actually looks like a miniature P-17 action in a way. Like maybe not the bridge, but the bolt has that forward sweep, kind of like a P-17. Which is cool. This one has a Boyd's laminate replacement stock. And this is a very useful gun. It's a 308. So it's a bolt action 308 with, no suppressor, no bullcrap, which there is enough meat on this barrel. I could thread it. I thought about throwing a can on it, but this is a fantastic little gun, like kind of a nice little scout rifle. This particular one has a 1.5 to 4 VX Freedom, just a basic Leupold on it. And it's great. This gun is a perfectly capable food plot rifle, hunting rifle, stalking rifle. It's light enough to be able to kind of carry around real easy. Nice light little rifle. Still fires a reasonable, power round in 308 with a 16-inch barrel. It's short and handy, easy to handle. Now, what would my number 5 be? I think that something that could maybe double as a more powerful hunting rifle, but also as a battle rifle, would probably be more my first choice. I mean, is that to say that if I were going specifically just to hunt, right? I'm going out to go hunting and do my thing and go engage in the fun of hunting. Well, yeah, I'd rather have a nice hunting rifle. I mean, because why would I need to carry around a Scar Heavy or an AR-10 just to go hunt deer when I can have something like this? It's just handier, easier to carry around. So I can appreciate the handling characteristics of a hunting rifle like this, and I certainly do like that. But I think that my number 5 slot would have to be something like the Scar Heavy, or some type of a 308 or 6.5 Creedmoor auto loader. But again, that can be a detriment. It's a heavier gun to carry around. It's more cumbersome to carry. You have to keep up with extra mags, maybe a few extra parts. So that may not be practical to some people. Maybe they don't want to have to draw attention to themselves with something like that. If you're just going about your business on your property with a hunting rifle and someone comes upon you, and let's just say it's a crap situation or something like that, people are probably going to feel more, it's going to be more normal for someone to see someone walking around with a hunting rifle than it is, a battle rifle.
Yeah, someone pops out of a side-by-side with a scar, you're like...
And they mean business. So if you kind of want to be ready but not necessarily look like you mean business, sometimes a hunting rifle can just be less threatening.
It's true.
And that might be a more useful tactic depending on the situation that you might find yourself in. And if you go stepping out of a quad or out of your home with a Scar Heavy, someone's going to think, well, this person's looking for trouble, versus, hey, I just heard a bump in the night and I'm coming to investigate with my trusty hunting rifle. Those are two different looks. The optics of those two things are different. I personally would rather just be ready for any situation that might arise, no matter what. So for me, I'm just going to treat my Scar Heavy like a rifle. It's a rifle. So if I'm hunting with it, then guess what? It's a hunting rifle. If I'm going to investigate a bump in the night or patrol, whatever I'm going to do, well, guess what? It's a patrol rifle. If I'm shooting 500 yards and hitting 10-inch plates at 500 yards, guess what? It's a DMR. So it's going to fulfill whatever purpose I need it to fulfill. And it's going to fulfill a wider range of purposes than a simple hunting rifle would do.
That's right.
Now, Colonel Cooper, who's no longer with us, he used to, actually, it's oddly enough, it's funny that I'm holding a Model 600 Mohawk, because Colonel Cooper would tell his students that the Model 600 was for his, at the time, he recommended a lot of these to his students when it came to like a scout rifle. What he envisioned as a scout rifle was Colonel Cooper, I believe. With that, though, what's interesting is that it's oddly enough that I'm holding this rifle, because this is a gun that he recommended. Not only this type of gun, but this exact rifle. So it's not to say that if I went to investigate a bump in the night with this, that I wouldn't feel armed and capable of something. But, a Scar Heavy with a nice flashlight and a red dot and a suppressor and, sort of decked out and a little more good to go, maybe even a D-ball or a PEC-4 or some type of laser illuminator. Yeah, I mean, at that point, yeah, if you're running nods,
yep.
Well, now you're talking. It just may be a completely different scenario that you're prepared for. And, of course, all of those things depend on what you want to spend, how far down the rabbit hole you want to go, how much support gear you want to buy. The nice thing about a hunting rifle, to Matt's credit, is that anybody can just throw a box of ammo or some loose rounds in their pocket, load the gun, and just go have a look, go take a walk on the property or something. And you'd have to have far less support gear to just carry this around, right? There are pictures of Fidel Castro back when, they overthrew the government in Cuba. And, when Fidel Castro came into power, there's pictures of Fidel Castro fighting, and he had a hunting rifle.
Mm-hmm.
He's carrying around a hunting rifle. He doesn't have an AK or a FAL or a G3 or whatever, right? He didn't have a semi-auto. He had a hunting rifle.
So, it'll get the job done, man.
He understood the value of sometimes just moving light and fast and not being weighed down by a bunch of crap is more useful. So, whereby, having a battle rifle's cool, you also have to have gear to support the extra magazines. That's usually going to come with some form of a carrier. Maybe you're going to have some armor. So now you're weighing yourself down with armor, and you're weighing yourself down with extra magazines and water and equipment. And whereby, obviously, if that's what you need to be prepared for, that's important to be prepared for, and you need to be capable. But that's not to say that every situation you find yourself in is going to require you to be all decked out to the four winds just to go investigate a little issue on the property or something. So
correct.
Those two things are not always the same. Again, it's all about purpose and what your needs are as a gun owner. And, there's these people out there that, they would only buy a hunting rifle, right? Like a bolt action hunting rifle. And they go, well, I don't support people buying semi-autos because I don't understand why you need it. Just because they don't understand why it is necessary to you doesn't mean it's not necessary. Because they have a failure of their logic doesn't mean that it should be all of a sudden an emergency on my part to have to worry about, a bunch of people who claim to be pro-gun coming after me and saying, oh, well, you shouldn't have that AR-15. You shouldn't have that Scar Heavy. You should just have a bolt-action hunting rifle. Why can't you just use a bolt-action? That's not the point. They're completely failing to miss the point, is that the Second Amendment is about options. And if I'm well armed, I have options. And my option might be different. The options I need to have at my disposal might be considerably different than what your needs are as just simply someone who only hunts. Someone who's a FUD, that's fine. I got no problem with someone being a FUD. But guess what? If all you're into is hunting, I don't feel like it really gives you, any agency to be able to scrutinize what I do with my guns when all you do is hunt.
Very well put. Very well put. Have I done my number 5, or was that number 4?
No, that was my number 5. I was basically talking about a semi-auto.
I was going to use a 308 as well, and that's just because I want something like you said, something just in case, right? So we have.
Well, you mentioned the 30-06, so I think you did do your number 5. I think you did.
Okay.
Because you talked about the M77 Mark II. I was wrong.
Yes. Okay. Cool.
So I rebutted my number 5, and that was the auto loader.
Okay. So
we had a vote for auto loader, a vote for a bolt action, and then the only other area that we had some discrepancy in was on the 22.
Yep.
Whereby I opted for the 22.
I opted for the 9mm.
And you opted for the 9mm. And all of those tools are useful. Your list would be useful. My list would be useful. So it's not like we're very far off. And I think most people, their mentality, that's kind of how they think.
Exactly.
I would think so. All right, we're going to give a shout out to one more sponsor. We still have a little bit more to go in the show here, but I want to give a shout out to our friends at Allegiance Gold. All right, folks, I want you to pay close attention because they're not talking about this on the news. In the last 30 days alone, 145 bank branches, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, and Chase included, have quietly shut down. No headlines, no warnings, just closed. Could these bank closures lead to bank failures? Imagine you go down to your bank and it's closed. If that doesn't feel like deja vu from 2008, I don't know what does. We've seen this movie before, and it didn't end well for people who waited too long to act. Many lost a lot of their hard-earned savings, and some never recovered at all. It happens fast. That's why exactly I have partnered with Allegiance Gold. You've seen them on my show. They make protecting your wealth and real physical assets like gold and silver simple, fast, and secure. Visit allegiancegold.com/LLP. That's allegiancegold.com/LLP. Lima Papa. Get your money out of vulnerable paper markets and into something real. They're even waiving up to 3 years in setup fees. but only for my listeners. Don't wait for the headlines to tell you that it's too late. Visit allegiancegold.com/LLP and start protecting what's yours today. That's a great sponsor for this show, because I think it does go hand in hand with the idea of preparedness and being ready. And part of good preparedness is financial preparedness and making sure that your assets are protected. And, bullion such as, gold and silver is always a great investment. I've got a lot of silver. I don't really have much gold. I really do need to get with them and get a gold subscription. That'd be cool.
Absolutely.
So we have a few more minutes on the show. There's always sort of a wild card that we talk about when we do 5 guns. So let's say that you chose your 5 and you could pick one last one. Say you could actually get 6, a wild card. What would be like the icing on the cake if you could have one more?
And this is one that
it could be whatever you want.
Yeah, no. And I anticipated the wild card because we know that there's always a wild card. And this is a gun that I will own one day. It might be a while, but it's the Negev. And I know I've talked to you about this like a while back. I was like, oh man, I'm going to get one. And I think that the Negev in 7.62. So they make 2. They have the 5.56 version and they have the 7. And it's basically the counterpart to the 240 Bravo. A little bit more modernized, but just the rate of fire is a little bit faster. And it to me, honestly, looks better looking gun, packs a ton of firepower. That 7.62 round will absolutely just rip someone to shreds, and material as well. So it doesn't have to be just people. Like it'll get the job done. I like it. That would be my wild card, because I want something that provides suppressive power, but at the same time can get the job done.
Wow. Okay. I've shot the 5.56 Negev. It's very nice. The one feature about that gun that I think is the most fascinating is that the optic is not attached to the top cover. Like on the 240, the top cover pivots and your optic's attached to that. And it can't be as good for your optic to move like that. It shouldn't, right?
And you're slamming it down.
Yeah, and you're slamming it down. It's just not good for it. But on the Negev, your optic stays put, and it's just this tiny little feed tray that pops up that's like small. It's like this big. And that makes it a lot easier. And also, I believe, is going to make the gun lower profile too. If you're in the prone and you have to reload, you don't have some giant feed tray popping up that could potentially give your position away as well. So, and the Negev is a real smooth gun with a very high rate of fire. I do find it to be a very good machine gun. All right, so what would my wild card be? I would have to say probably the Barrett M107. Now, because the wild card is kind of a fantasy gun, like that you can just choose whatever. Yes, the 107 practical to carry around in field? Probably not. There might be some limited situations you could use it in, but it is nice to know that if you do need 50 cal power, that you do have a big bore autoloader that can be there to save your bacon. And I tell you, I still have my 107. I'd kicked around the idea of maybe selling my 107, but just every time I think about it, I'm like, it's so perfect. It is set up so right. It shoots so good. And I tell you, my 107, it absolutely delivers the goods, and it's been a good one. And I love it. I've never had a single issue out of it. It's always worked 110% reliably. It always shoots great. It eats anything I can throw in it. Don't try to shoot spotter tracer rounds out of it. The spotter tracers that they use in the mortise tubes for the recoilless rifles, don't shoot those. I learned the hard way on that. It didn't hurt the gun, but it could have. So watch out for spotter tracer. But other than that, it'll generally eat just about whatever you can throw in it. It loves the 750 grain AMAX. Fantastic round. Depending on how far out you seat the AMAX, it may not fit the magazine. That's just one thing to think about. But factory AMAX seems to fit the magazine just fine. But overall, it may not be the most accurate 50, but damn it, it is the most firepower. And I tell you, it is nice to have that fast follow-up shot and the semi-auto capability. And, the bark of the Barrett is something to respect. And I do like it. I think it's a fantastic gun and could be a game changer. They're being used in the wars right now. They're being used in Ukraine. There's plenty of snipers that are using 107s, and they're using them to pretty good effect. Anti-material. anti-vehicle, anti-personnel. I mean, pretty much whatever a 50 cal will destroy, it'll do it.
I mean, for the engagement distances that you're seeing in the modern battlefield, I mean, that 107 will do anything within those striking distances. I mean, Stevie Wonder could put a dude down with that thing. It's like 1 to 500 meters.
It shoots flat.
Oh yeah, it's a freaking laser beam, dude.
It's a very flat shooting gun. At longer range, it does begin to fall out a bit. I mean, 50 cal was never really intended to be a long range shooting cartridge. It was a machine gun cartridge, and John Browning took the 30-06 and which is 30 cal. And he just said, all right, we're going to scale up the 30-06 to 50 cal. And that's all it is. If you look at the angle of the shoulder, all of the measurements, they're just literally extrapolated from a 30-06 up to 50. They just blew the 30-06 up and made a bigger.
They scaled it up identical, like everything's good. It was just...
Yep. They just literally took 30 and made it 50, and it worked. But it was never really intended to be a sniping cartridge or a precision rifle cartridge. It was always meant to be a volume machine gun cartridge,
And I truly believe that was the case with the 107. I don't think they ever intended the 107 to be a extremely long range sniper rifle. Like, it can get the job done, like they were using it to good effect, but they have to have realized that the round is not a super high performance accurate round.
Well, that Hornady AMAX does help a lot. The Hornady AMAX projectile does help with the accuracy in the 107. I've also experimented with some turned pure copper projectiles from Lehigh. They do pretty well. Overall, I would say, just to give you an idea of accuracy potential. So Mike at Mr. Guns and Gear, he and I, we have a video where we took some 50 cal, some 107s out. He has one and I have one. We both took them out. And we were hitting 3-liter soda bottles at 500 yards.
Yep.
Whatever, if you consider that accurate or not, that's up to you. I think for combat accuracy and for the type of accuracy you need that gun for, I think that's more than adequate. We might have got a 50% connection rate on a 3-liter soda at 500 yards. With ball ammo, and that's with just M33 bullets.
Which is what you're going to find standard, like, pulling off the links out of a box.
The gun was designed to be able to take an unlinked M33 and shoot it, and it worked great, and the gun, it was built in a way that it'll allow it to eat just about whatever you can throw in it. So that's my wild card is the 50. His is the Negev. Both excellent choices. So that concludes today's show. I hope everybody enjoyed it. Let me know what you thought about this long form 5 guns. I think it's going to be a great show. And let me know what your top 5, if you could only own 5, what would it be? Let me know down in the comment section below if you're watching here on YouTube. Obviously, if you're following anywhere else or following on the podcast forums, you can send us a message and give us your list, and maybe we will revisit this later or take some of your comments and questions. So let me know if you have any questions. And Matt, anything else before we go?
No, I think it was a great conversation. We had some great choices, man. And hopefully the viewers and the listeners chime in and give us your choices so that we can kind of compare notes.
Heck yeah. Well, thank you guys so much. We will see you next Monday here on LLP. We are out.
Bye, everybody.
Thanks for listening to Life, Liberty, and Pursuit. If you enjoyed the show, be sure to subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and anywhere else podcasts are found. Be sure to leave us a 5-star review. We'd really appreciate that. You can support us over on Ballistic Ink by picking yourself up some merch. And remember, guys, danger is freedom. Have a good one.